Coach T, can you hear me?
I can. What's going on, fellas?
Doing good. How about you?
I'm doing all right.
Just
What's
got
up, Landon?
What's up, Coach?
How you been, man?
Man, I've been all right. Can't complain.
I'm big time. I feel special, man. I'm on the podcast.
gotta get you on.
Oh, okay.
Did you have a good session tonight?
Yeah, full session, man.
Yeah.
You know how it go.
Yeah. All right, Coach T, you ready to get started?
I am. Anything special I need to know? Need to do?
No, I mean it's just on the call right here. I mean I'll record it and then post it.
All right, sounds good, man. What we talking about?
So, I mean it's mainly like a lot of basketball questions and like about your like background and stuff.
Okay.
So, I'll just hit this real quick. So, Coach T, the first thing I asked everybody is, how did you get to where you are today, and like, what's your background?
As far as how I got to where I am today, man, basketball in general, man. Basketball, that round orange thing got me here. Starting from a young age, instilling a lot of discipline, drive, dreams, aspirations, all through grade school, college, and the professional ranks. Um, Through all of that, I've always trained. I've always been one of those guys that was a gym rat. So through all of those levels, I've always worked out. I've always worked people out. I've always been one of those guys that like to give back, like everybody to win. So within that, man, I started training little kids. Then it went from little kids to high school guys to college guys to pro guys. And I finally pulled the trigger, man, after coaching college. So it's kind of funny. After playing at the professional level, I broke my kneecap. So that kind of took me back a little bit. I recovered, tried to get back, played a little bit, but then I started thinking, you know, life after the ball goes flat. And so I got into coaching. I coached at Transylvania for 2 years. Within doing that, I kind of, you know, found my passion in the service industry. And I stepped away from coaching college and went ahead and started my own thing. I've always trained on the side when I came back from playing overseas. So I pulled the trigger on actually opening my own gym. And that's what's got me here today. I'm 2 years strong, in the middle of expanding what I have now. So, I mean, that's just in a nutshell.
Mm-hmm.
That's a little bit of the timeline of how I got here.
What athletes did you look up to growing up?
Man, gosh, a lot of different athletes, man. Well, some of the athletes I looked up to were not all basketball athletes. I looked up to Muhammad Ali. I looked up to, of course, Michael Jordan. I loved Bo Jackson, where he was just, versatile and he was just a force to be reckoned with on the field and the diamond. So just super athletes, people that were motivated and driven, people that elevated other people. Um, I was a big John Thompson fan. I wanted to play for him. I wanted to play for Bob Huggins. I wanted to play for Rick Pitino. Uh, Both Rick Pitino and Bob Huggins, they did recruit me a little bit. I remember when I was at Louisville camp with Rondo. I don't know how we pulled it off, but me and him ended up on the same 3-on-3 team with another kid. I can't remember that kid's name. And we put on a show in that camp, and it was it was kind of ridiculous and ironic that that's where he was going to end up going until they started recruiting Sebastian Tilford, and know how that story went. But Rick Pitino, who else? Loved Bob Huggins. I couldn't have played for him, but I mean not Bob Huggins, Bob Knight. I couldn't have played for him. I loved him. Loved his coaching style. But yeah, I don't know. He was too old school and too hardcore. So I could deal with the hardcore, but you have to relinquish a little bit of control, and he
Right.
was a control freak. Who else? Here locally, a lot of local legends, man. Nimbo Hammonds, Dirk Minifield, and it's just so many guys, man, all through the ranks. Because I was a basketball sponge. Sean Woods, that was my coach. He kind of groomed me coming up. That's like my uncle. He's been knowing me since I was like 5, 6 years old. But that's just a couple of them, man. Oh, I can't. I gotta shout out my man AI Allen Iverson. I know his press conference it went viral, but I looked up to him as how he changed the culture and you know did it his way.
Mm-hmm. So going throughout the years, you playing. When did you start to get your bounce that you were known for?
Mm, I think I want to say it came out of nowhere. My seventh grade, going into eighth grade summer. Um, I was just kept trying to grab the rim. Like a lot of the kids that I trained, just kept going up, grabbing that, trying to grab the neck, trying to grab the rim. And I rode my bike everywhere. A lot of kids were like, well, what can I do? How do I get my bounce? I'm like, back then we didn't have the Vertimax and all of that stuff. I jumped rope and I rode my bike everywhere. I didn't really start lifting weights until sophomore year of high school. But so from seventh grade to eighth grade, I started kind of pulling the rim down. Um, and then right after that seventh to eighth grade summer, once I got in the eighth grade, man, I got my first dunk, and it just skyrocketed. From there, I just kept getting higher and higher and higher and higher. Um, what was it? Was it the 2002 dunk contest that Vince Carter like made history? Was that the year of it?
The 2000.
2000. So my freshman year, every single dunk that Vince Carter did, I was able to get close to, or I did them. The only one that I was not able to do was stick my elbow in the rim. I wasn't. My arms weren't long enough. I wasn't jumping high enough. But the under the goal, the 360 windmill, the windmill with the two hands, the going off the 2 feet through the legs. Man, I tried to emulate everything. That was one of the guys that I liked as a dunker. It was just fascinating to watch him and Tracy McGrady. But at that time, that's when AI and Steve Francis and a lot of the smaller guards were kind of wrecking shop.
Mm-hmm.
And I was a smaller guard, so kind of looked up to those guys. Of course, you got to put Kobe in there because Kobe's
Right.
Kobe.
Right. Talk us through your recruiting process. How was that?
Oh man, recruiting process. My sophomore year is when I really made a lot of noise. So I played, with the high school, my eighth grade, seventh to eighth grade summers. Some people know it that are close to me, but a lot of people don't know this. I almost ended up at Lexington Catholic. So I would have went to Lexington Catholic. I would have been there with Will Graham, Harrison Morton, Demetrius Green. I would have been on that 2002 state title team. So when I was playing at Taste Creek, Coach Barger was still there. And, he was kind of one of those old school coaches. You got to wait your turn. And I wanted to play up. And I played with a lot of my friends. And they were actually over at Catholic starting to let a couple guys play up. And I played with some of those guys that ended up going to Catholic. I played on their AAU team. So as they started going to their high schools, I played for Lexington Catholic's summer AAU team. And I almost went there. Coach Barker, he retired, and the next coach, Joe Covington, he stepped in. He was like, hey, you're in our district. If you come to Taste Creek, you'll be able to play as a freshman. Now, you're going to have to earn it, but I know that you can get some playing time. So, long story short, with that, story that could be long, I ended up at Taste Creek. but I could have been at Lexington Catholic. So, um, playing for Taste Creek, go into my sophomore year. I actually got a sponsor to help me pay to be on the Nike team because nobody really knew about me then. So the first year, I got a sponsor to take care of half of my fee to play for the Nike team. So when I got on it, no, I take that lie back. My freshman year. So my sophomore year, I didn't have to pay anything. They took care of everything. So sometimes you just need a shot. And I tell a lot of my kids, just prepare yourself for your opportunity and take full advantage of it. So I had somebody that helped me out, got my foot in the door, and I took it and ran with it, and I made the best out of it. So that summer of my sophomore year, going into my junior year, I started getting looks from a lot of schools. Now, I didn't get any offers. Back then, it was different, man. You didn't really get offers like that. They would recruit you, but they weren't offering that quick. But I got looked at from all of the OVC schools, all the Sunbelt schools. Then I started getting into some of the bigger schools, Vandy, Tennessee, Louisville. But I think at that time Louisville was in the Sunbelt. Was it Mick Cronin was there, I think. I believe he was there then. I think, yeah, Mick Cronin was there. Cincinnati, that's when Bob Huggins was there. Who else? Dayton. I'm trying to think of all the other ones. Clemson, Florida State, Miami. Didn't get any from Georgia. Didn't get any Georgia schools. Stanford, Iowa State. It was a lot, man. Those are the ones I can remember right now. The ones that I let get away because I got a little too big headed and I was waiting on the Kentuckys and the Dukes, the blue bloods, the Big Five. Being a 6'2" guard that didn't have too much of a consistent jump shot at that point, it was kind of tough. So I'm waiting for those guys, and they never came. So a lot of the other schools start falling off. But, that's part of the game. And I ended up waiting too late. I didn't sign early in the first signing period, and I probably should have went ahead and signed with either Clemson or Florida State. But, hey, it's kind of like that girl that passed up on you, and then she wants to come back to no, we already got somebody. Like you missed your shot. Like we got somebody that we like, and they fit our program pretty good. So a lot of the kids now, especially with that transfer program, man, you gotta, if they offer you and you are a high school athlete and it's one of those schools that you feel like you want to go to, you better take it, because times have changed as far as the recruiting process for high school athletes. I ended up at Tennessee Tech, man. That was one of the last schools that waited out. Like that one chick that was like, you know what, you do all your stuff, and I'll still be here. So I ended up at Tennessee Tech. One of the big reasons I went there is I was really good friends with Brian Smith, the Smith family, Tubby Smith, and his son Saul Smith ended up taking the job there. So I ended up going to Tennessee Tech just because I trusted Saul and I wanted to be with him. Went there for 2 years. We ended up getting a ring while I was there. So I do have a Division I ring. I don't really talk about that much, but I got one of those. The coach there got sick. And, neither here nor there. I don't want to talk any ill will about anybody. But, we parted ways. Things changed. That person changed. And I ended up coming back to Georgetown. Pretty good career there.
So after college, you played overseas. How was that process? I mean, did you have to like sit down with people and like try to find an agent? And I mean, what went through that process?
I ended up getting approached by an agent out of California, and it was a big agency. They had one of the Flight Brothers. I don't know if you all heard of Team Flight Brothers.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of the, so they had special effects. They had some other, big time guys that were from some of the other schools. They flew us out to Salt Lake City, and I ended up playing in one of those summer leagues, and did pretty good. I ended up catching a deal in Lisbon, Portugal. And at this time, this was like right before the whole, market crash and all of that stuff happened. So I was over there in the middle of the season, all that stuff happened. And the funding, the soccer team over there lost the funding, which that's a big, big, big part of how everybody gets paid, especially the Americans. Um, so I was over there. That affected the basketball market. So I came back home, ended up playing in the CBA the last year that they had the CBA. So I played behind Jermaine Blackburn. He ended up getting drafted by the Seattle Supersonics. Uh, Galen Young, God rest his soul, he passed away. He got drafted by the Milwaukee Bucks. That's when me and Wayne Turner first met. And he didn't know this, but like I looked up to him when he was at Kentucky because he was a small guard, cat quick, nobody could stay in front of him. That was one of the reasons why I got number 5 when I was a high school player. Me and him played together, and we ended up getting close while I was in the CBA. That's like my brother now, man. He's actually coming to my wedding. But played in the CBA, and that all of that was my rookie season. So after that, I played in some world tournaments in Beijing, China. Played in Canada twice. Uh, I played in a league here that was called the PBL, where we actually played here and in Canada. So after, I played in that, then I played in Canada for the second time. And that was, to circle back around, that was after I stopped coaching at Transylvania. I went back and played, and this is post, tearing my knee up and all that good stuff. So I was playing when I was 33. And when I came back, that's when I started the academy. But in a nutshell, that was the professional career on and off for about 7 years.
Lando, go over to you.
All right. So you talked about how you played at Tennessee Tech and at Georgetown. So how did playing at the Division I level and then the NIA level, how did that prepare you for your time you spent overseas?
I honestly, I don't really think anything can prepare you for playing overseas because it's not necessarily about the actual basketball, the game itself. Because, if you're a hooper, you're a hooper. You're going to hoop anywhere. Of course, you have to adjust to the rules and the style of play, but, you got to do that with every AAU team, every coach that you play for, every high school, every, you're the way that a coach coaches, you have to adjust to him, he has to adjust to you. So as far as basketball goes, I was fine in that aspect. Of course, you got to get used to the way they play and the way that they ref the game. But the culture shock, going from, never being out of the country to out of the country on your own and speaking a whole nother language. So as far as the small things of, knocking on your next door neighbor's door to ask, like, hey, where is it somewhere good to get something to eat? Or what's a good movie theater? Things like that you take for granted because that cultural barrier, that language barrier is there, and it's tough. And when you go overseas, there's different levels to it. Of course, on TV, they're going to show you the glitz and the glamour. They're going to show you, the top tier levels of playing overseas. There's a lot of different levels. Some people do have translators. Some people do have chefs. Some people do have the luxuries to that extent. But for me in my journey, I didn't have that. Now, the money was decent, the play was good, and the living was, solid. But just that change of being able to just move around how you want to, that is the biggest difference. And that's why a lot of people that can really play basketball, they don't make it overseas because it's not that they can't play, it's just they can't adjust.
Yeah. And so I assume growing up, the dream was to always, go play college basketball and then the pros, right?
Correct.
Right.
Close to playing in the developmental league. I almost played for the Golden State Warriors, their franchise team. Back then, it was called the Bakersfield Jam.
Gotcha. Okay. So growing up as a kid, what did a typical day look like for you to be able to achieve those dreams?
Oh, man. I played all day long. Like, literally, all day long. Whether it was in the driveway, somebody else's driveway, at a park, I always had a basketball in my hand. If I couldn't shoot, I was dribbling. I came out during the time. I don't know if you all have watched it yet. If not, you should. Because everything is emulated and it's probably grown from the And One mixtape.
Mm-hmm.
Like all the ball handling, everything that everybody does right now, the seed was planted with And One, and one not knowing where it came from, but just the street ball. And one kind of locked in with it, and that's what I was brought up on. So I used to always just try to do that stuff and handle the ball and do different things, be creative. So a day with me was being creative, trying to work out, trying to find different ways that I could make myself better. And other than that, I was kind of a artistic kid. So I like to draw, do all that stuff. So that's how, like, with my brand, I did all my branding. When I went to school, I graduated with a graphic design degree. So everything that I do and that you see that has to do with the company, for the most part, I've had my hand in it or both hands in it. So I was either playing basketball or drawing or designing or doing something like that.
Gotcha. So once your playing days were over and you officially hung up the shoes, and you had the opportunity to become an assistant coach at Transy, what did those 2 years kind of teach you? And did it show you anything about wanting to become a trainer rather than a coach, or was coaching just something you didn't want to do after that?
Well, it was just not. Yeah, I guess that being put in that atmosphere, to where your livelihood is dependent on how someone else, succeeds. And of course, yeah, as a coach, you want to win. You're part of the team. But the thing that I loved about the whole coaching process was being that player development coach, helping those guys try to reach the success, put them in a position to have the ability and the skill set to be a winning team. And I fell in love with that. As far as the X's and O's and administrative part and the recruiting, that was one of those things that wasn't high on my list that I liked. I would do it, but it really wasn't high on my list. I did like breaking down the other team's players and helping our players kind of have their matchups. So critiquing the other players and telling them, like, hey, look, he's going to probably drive 2 or 3 dribbles right, but he's coming right back left, and he's still going to bring it back and try to shoot with his right hand. It's like things like that, so they're prepared. So in that aspect, that kind of, at that time, the whole, I guess, player development, trainer industry had just started. So a lot of people, it's huge now, but at that point when I started, man, and I had an interest in it, it wasn't that big, and I kind of was like, yeah, hey, this is something that I want to try to make a career. I want to try to do this. It was either be an NBA trainer or be a player development coach at a Division I level.
Gotcha. All right. So, like you said, you finished coaching and you become a trainer, and now you own your own training facility called Evolve to Perform. So, how did that all come to be, and when did you know you were going to build that and become successful with it as you have today?
I mean, I'm going into year 17, so I've always known that I wanted to do something like this. But as far as me seeing me doing this as a career, and this is my sole income, that was one of those things that, I kind of took a leap of faith, and I trusted my grind. I trusted everything that I did, and this is all on top of, just my faith and knowing that I'm gonna put my best foot forward, and God's got me. He's gonna steer my direction. So, as far as having the academy and the training, I mean, I've changed my name a couple different times, but I've always thought like, hey, you got to evolve to be able to perform. And I was just sitting in my room one day, and I was like, that's the name, Evolve to Perform. So I took that, kind of branded that, created the logo and everything, and I was like, this is what I'm going to stamp as far as how I move forward with what I do in this industry. And I met my fiance, and Sophia Lopes, shout out to her. She's a big part of it, man. She was like, hey, what are you waiting on? Like, what are you scared of? Just go ahead and do it. Go ahead and, find you a place that suits what you want to try and start off with, get the proof of concept, and then we just go from there. She's like, I believe in you. Your drive's there. Let's just go ahead and do it. So I did that, which with me training for so many years, it's not easy. I see a lot of guys, a lot of girls that are getting into this industry. It's tough, man. It's tough. Just like, and you are older, you're out of school now, well, out of high school now, and you see how, kids kind of jump from AAU team to AAU team. You're starting to see how athletes go from college to college. Well, there's no difference when you do the training thing. You might have a kid that, jumps from trainer to trainer. You don't know, you know, how many students you're going to have. You do have your loyal students, but like I tell everybody, I train anybody that comes through the door. I'm in a service industry, so I've seen a lot of people try to hop into it, and they don't really understand the grind and the mental focus and mental toughness that you have to have. And me playing basketball helped me with that, like facing adversity, figuring it out, and that's where I'm at now.
Yeah. And I wasn't even going to ask this, but you brought it up. Just like looking at the women's aspect of this, and I love watching, the WNBA from time to time, and just really looking at how they keep developing their skill set and how they keep getting better and better every year. What do you kind of look at when you're developing a woman when they come to you, and how do you kind of like do you base their skill set off of the WNBA, or do you kind of just bring your own twist to the game with that?
Man, I've trained. If you all are familiar with Kennedy Stamper, she came from Montgomery County as she was going into her 7th grade year, and she went to GRC. So she was GRC starting point guard when they went to the state tournament. And when she came through the first day, I said, look, I'm the type of trainer where I train basketball players, so I'm not going to train you any different than I train my boys. You're a basketball player, so I'm going to train you like a basketball player. I'm going to show you everything that you need to do, everything that's going to help you succeed, and I'm going to do it just like I would do it with my guys. So as far as, my female athletes and my male athletes, I train them all the same. Now, am I going to be as physical with them? No. But am I going to be physical with them? Yes. Am I going to be just as demanding? Yes. So the game's changing, and you can see a lot of these females, man, are becoming more athletic. We're starting to see more females play above the rim. So it's coming, man. We're starting to see more females that are taller than 6'4" on the regular. That was uncommon back then.
Yeah. So what is it like getting to see the kids you train grow up and become successful and achieve the dreams they've always wanted to? I mean, Turner's been training with you. He's gone to Asbury. I'm currently being a practice player at Western Kentucky right now. I mean, just kind of what is it like to get to see that growth and the potential be reached?
Man, I love it. That's why I love what I do. That's why I love waking up in the morning and doing this. I had, one of my young ladies actually. She started by coming with her older brother, who is now playing football at UK, and this is Kylie Dennis. She
Mm-hmm.
started with me at 8 years old, and she was still playing soccer. So she would come in with her dad and her brother. Her brother would have a work Trey Dennis, shout out Trey. Um, but she would come in with him. He would have his workout. She would just be sitting on the side dribbling the basketball. She would still have her knee pads on from soccer practice. And as we would go, she would hop in. I let her do a drill. She'd get that. Next time, I let her hop in a couple other drills. And just seeing her progress, man, from 8 years old and, all the adversity that she faced throughout the years, the different, different things that people knew and didn't know. It was just, man, it was a blessing to be a part of that, and then watch her go from an 8-year-old little girl to, a Miss Basketball candidate, 11th Region Player of the Year, and get a Division I scholarship was amazing. And I try to do that with all of my kids. There's other kids uh, that have done the same thing. Now I do have some kids that stayed with me, were real standouts in high school, and they went and played another sport. But again, just to see them flourish and transform from the player that they were to what they ended up to, that's the gratifying part of it.
Yeah, Turner, I'll turn it back over to you.
What I mean, you talked about with like players going from trainer to trainer, like learning about that and stuff. What are some of the important lessons that you've learned from training basketball?
As in, what do you mean?
Just like overall, and just like about the business side of it, and or just like being around different people.
Now, the business side, that is, as a trainer and a gym owner, that's the big difference. You can be a trainer, you don't have to think about certain things. You just got to worry about getting that particular athlete to the level that they are trying to get to. As a gym owner and trying to run an academy, you have to think of let me think, like one of the smallest things, like okay, is the bathroom clean? Like, do I have hand soap? Is it easily accessible to book a class? Is my QuickBooks? Is my accountant doing everything that they need to do? It's like certain things that you really don't have to think of as a trainer. You just train. If you go from gym to gym, if you can get in, you get in. If you can't, you can't. Well, when you have overhead, you have to make sure that the Wi-Fi is working, the toilets and the plumbing's good, the electric, your power lines and all of that stuff, you're up to code. It's just a lot of things as a entrepreneur, as a gym owner, that are different than a trainer. And then on top of the things that I was talking about, like, when you have kids that, and it's no fault to them, but, they go from trainer to trainer. So you might have a kid that you see one time and you might not see them for 2 or 3 weeks. Now, how do I know that they are still working on what we worked on the last time that I'm trying to fix? So you might come to me, we work on something that you need to work on, but then you go to somebody else, it's a little funner. It's something that it's fun for you to work on, but that's really not what you need to work on for your game. And then you come back to me and you still haven't really gotten any better on what we were trying to work on. So, you kind of wasted 3 weeks. So it's a lot of different things, little a lot of different aspects that you got to try to manage at the same time. You got to wear a lot of different hats, and you have to be mindful of, and that might be a fault of me. I'm mindful of all of my students. I want all of them to succeed. So it's not just, a number. I try to stay in all of their lives, ask them, what they did on the weekend. How was their holiday? What's the sister and what's mom doing? How was their anniversary? Like things like that. I try to be a very personable person. And like I said when we first started, this is a service industry. So just like when you have a good waitress or, you know, um, anybody that serves you, you want that service to be at top tier, first class, and that's what I try to do here.
Mm-hmm. How was the process into finding what gym and like facility like that was best for your like training program?
Um, Me personally, I just thought of everything that I would have wanted when I was training, and I tried to maximize the space that I had. Everything that I was like, well, man, if I could have did this, or I could have had that, or if I could have, or if a kid could do all of this and not have to travel multiple places, um, I just try to put all of it in under one roof. And there's still other things like when I do move from the space that I'm in to a bigger space that I'll have added to it. So those are the things. There's nothing that anybody else is doing, but just things that I would have liked as athlete coming up training. Like what do we have now that we didn't have back then that they could benefit from?
So switching gears here a little bit, who are some of your favorite current players to watch in like any league?
Uh, I mean, we'll go with what everybody watches. I love watching Luca. I love watching Kyrie. Um, Still, it's fun to watch LeBron when he's healthy and he's playing like vintage LeBron. Um, I like defenders, man. I love Austin Reeves, man. He's come on to the scene. I really love his game. Um, and it's kind of sad because I work so much that a lot of times I don't get to watch the games. And I'm telling you, these are the guys that when I do get time, I try to carve some time out to kind of watch them play.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see who else. Of course, Jimmy Butler, man. Blue collar Jimmy.
Mm-hmm.
He gets it done. That's gonna be scary if Dame goes. Not to get off topic, but that's really
Oh
scary.
yeah, for sure.
That's gonna be fun to watch because you take two of the guys that kind of are the epitome of what I won't say real, a true basketball lover like just embraces. Those two guys, their mindset, how they get it, how they do it, is you can't dislike them. Oh, Giannis. I feel like if you don't like Giannis, you're not a good person. I mean, how can you dislike that guy?
I know the answer to this for you, but I mean, an obvious basketball question here. Give us your take on the Jordan LeBron debate.
Man, I tell everybody, leave that alone. Leave just
The same way.
I always tell everybody, Jordan, let him be the GOAT. Let LeBron be the king, and let Kobe be the Mamba. They're one of one.
Yeah.
You keep wanting to try and do apples and oranges. Just let them be great at who they are, at what they've done, and you keep. I mean, that for me, I think that is just to keep the fire going. Everybody wants to put fuel to the fire. So if they didn't have anybody to talk about, they would try to throw somebody else in the hat. Because if you think about it, back then it was who's better, Dr. J or Michael Jordan, or think who's better, Magic Johnson or Dr. J. Like all of these things is just one of those. I think it's just for the media.
For sure.
Yeah, I mean, you ask people in the NBA, it's going to be whoever they feel. And me personally, I think that the way that you would compare them would be you would compare Kobe more to Jordan because Kobe emulated Jordan's game.
Mm-hmm.
You would compare LeBron to Magic Johnson because that's more of his game. Of course, Magic didn't get to play as long, but LeBron, he just emulates how Magic played. He's vintage Magic that's more athletic. I mean, that's just my take. That's my personal take. I probably will get crucified for saying some of the stuff that I said, but hey, that's how I feel.
I mean, everybody gets crucified at some point for their take, right?
Yeah, I mean, it wouldn't be the world we live in if we didn't.
Right. Landon, we'll go back to you.
All right. So, when someone comes to you and they want to start training, how do you go about the process of actually deciding how you're going to train them, where you're going to start at, and exactly what for?
Well, when they come to me, first and foremost, I kind of ask them, what position do you play? What position would you like to play? And then I kind of look at their stature, their physical capabilities, and then the next question is, well, what is it that whoever it is that you're playing for is wanting you to do? Because you could want to be the point guard on your team, but you're the center. So if you come into me and you want to work on point guard stuff, that's not going to help you. Like I have a kid that I train now. He is super athletic, long, can alter shots, block shots. He can literally, and I tell him this all the time. Do you not realize Kenneth Fareed got paid $60 million to run the floor, block shots, and get rebounds?
Yeah.
I said, you don't have to be in the light to have the ball. Like, that's not all basketball is. And so when I do get an athlete, I kind of see what it is that they could be really good at and how they can flourish in what they're great at already. And then we take their weaknesses and we kind of strengthen those to kind of complement what they're really good at. Everybody that comes to me because the game is changing needs to be able to handle the ball, of course. But is that your main focus? I always focus from the ground up. Footwork is your base, and you have to have a strong base to play basketball.
Yeah. So when you're with a kid and you're training them, what is the mindset that you're trying to get into them as a player to get the best out of them? Because as a trainer, that's ultimately your goal, is to get the best out of them. So what is that mindset you're trying to instill in them?
I mean, pretty much my slogan, man. You're only going to get out what you put in. You can't come to me and put in a 2 effort and leave out of here and think you're going to get a 10 result. That's just not how it works. I heard or saw, I think it might have been social media, where Chris Paul was telling his son, man, we're going to stack these days. Each day we want to get better and better, and we're going to stack them on top of each other. And that's why I tell everybody, it's kind of it's a process, man. You start your foundation with these universal puzzle pieces. And once you do that, you just start to add to them. It's like a snowball, man, good and bad. You get good mechanics, and you pack it in tight, and you just roll that thing down the hill, and sooner or later, it's going to gather a whole lot of other good things. And when you get down to the bottom of the hill, man, it's huge. You have a large upside. So that's how I try to train them. We start off trying to get a good foundation, be able to do, fundamental things, and then we can branch off. You can't put the shutters on without the foundation.
Yeah. There used to be a time where you would get on Twitter or you get on Instagram and you'd see some outlandish stuff with these training videos and these trainers doing some wacky stuff. But so what are some of the positive trends you're seeing with the basketball trainer now, and what are some of the negative ones that you'd like to see thrown out?
Some of the positive things, and this is coming from, the top tier trainers, because they've gotten tired of all the gimmicky stuff. Like, because the industry's trying to grow and everybody's trying to do it, whether they play, know it, or whatever. They feel like they can just make some stuff up, market it, and be a good trainer. And that's not really what it is. Basketball, there's a blueprint for basketball. Now, just like everything else, there's a blueprint to make a car or to make a building. You don't really deviate. You can't put four squares on a car and expect it to roll. Like, you got to put four round tires on it. And I feel like a lot of people are trying to recreate basketball in the way that you play. Basketball is basketball. The foundation and the blueprint's there. Now, I tell everybody, I'm not here to reinvent the wheel. I'm just going to put better tires on it. So if I can make the wheel roll a little bit better, then that's what I'll do. But I'm not going to change the wheel. And I feel like a lot of trainers, that's what they're trying to do. Now, you have the other trainers out there that stick to the basics, and they want you to be efficient, and they want to try and do everything they can to make you as efficient as possible. Those are the ones that are going to help a lot of athletes. And because it's so many trainers out here that are trying to get into this industry, it's oversaturated. So you have people that don't. It's hard to filter out the good and the bad now.
Mm-hmm.
About it, and that's everything in life now. Everything is so saturated to where you got 50 million thousand realtors now. So how do I know which realtor to go to? Which one's the good one? So you go through several of them, and then you might miss the good one because you've tried to filter through all the bad ones. And I think that's what's really messing up the industry. But hey, it's part of it.
Yeah. So kind of like the one thing I always like to ask is like, who was your greatest motivator for you growing up as a kid to get you to where you are today?
My greatest motivator. There's a lot of different ones. Because I had friends, family members, coaches. I can't, Landon, for real, man, I can't really say just one. Honestly, that would be too hard for me to just say one person. But the community. Say what?
Who are a couple that you can name just off the top of your head?
My uncle, for one. Sylvester Turner. He always pushed me. I was always with him. And he put me in the area. Like, when he was in college, he worked at the Seton Center down in UK. So, I was down there with a lot of the UK guys sitting on the side watching those guys play. So coming up through the ranks as a youngster, man, I watched, a lot of older athletes, just how they got at it and what it took to make it. Charlie Givens, God rest his soul. He was a big mentor. He really helped me coming up as a youngin'. All the coaches in Eastland, Yates Elementary, Eastland, I don't know, you guys are probably too young, but we had 3 leagues in this area, man. We had Mary Todd, Eastland, and Southeast Lexington. You didn't have a million AAU teams. So everybody within that culture and that community over East, they helped groom me as a youngin' and helped solidify my foundation. And as I got older, man, I just got around a lot of like-minded people that were like the Charlie Givens and the Sean Woods and my Uncle Sylvester that would push you, the Nimbo Hammonds. Like, all of these guys, man, I pay homage to because they really solidified and helped groom those around me and me, so we kind of pushed each other.
Yeah. So kind of like my final thing, it's not even a question, it's just, you were always a great trainer for me, someone that I always look forward to getting in the gym with. So anytime I've got someone that asks me, who's someone I could go to train, I always give them your name. And, if anyone's listening to this and they're serious about basketball, man, hit up Justin. He's the man to go to. So I'll turn it back over to you.
I appreciate that, man.
Yes, sir.
All right, Coach T, these are the last couple ones are kind of like some quick hitter basketball questions. So, in your opinion, what changes would you like to see to any level of basketball?
The changes I would like to see here in Kentucky is a shot clock for the high school. We got to be able to speed it up. We got to be able to be still one of the smartest IQ states as far as basketball, but we got to be able to play at a quicker pace. Um, I would like to see defense be a priority again, and I would like to see some tougher competition. I want people to compete. I feel like in the NBA, anything that they do, it trickles down and is kind of emulated by coaches and players and fans and family members. It's just the whinings has to go, the flopping, the all of that stuff. We got to just get back to basketball
Mm-hmm.
because I think it's spinning out of control, and it's going to get to a point where we can't control it. As you all see, not to get off topic, but just not being coachable, bad attitudes, that's going into the crowd. Then now you have parents that just are setting bad examples, fighting referees, and just being disrespectful. There's a certain humility that we have to have as a people, as a human, to where we right is right and wrong is wrong. So those things I would like to see carry over into basketball. Like, let's get back to true basketball, the love of it, and right is right, wrong is wrong, and let's play the right way and act the right way.
Mm-hmm. So with I mean, you talked about it too with the game of basketball evolving, and I mean, I always talk to coaches about this and stuff, and with you being a trainer, you see it too. A lot of guys are starting to have to be able to stretch it out and shoot it a lot more. Where do you see the use of the traditional big man still being like specialized?
I mean, I have no problem with the game changing and guys stepping out and shooting, outside shots, but you know, you still got to be able to get on the post and get a bucket. Like, you live by the three, you die by the three, and you know, being able to do both and be versatile, that's big because if the game changes to where we don't have anybody that can play in the post, then that's a guard's game, and that it's tough when you have to have five guards. That's tough. I mean, it's tough to play like that.
Hmm.
You can win a game like that, but it's going to be tough to win a championship like that. And we've seen it.
So, whenever you were talking about, like, I mean, you were highly recruited in high school. One big question I have is, with all these professional leagues coming out, would you recommend a 4 or 5 star athlete to go to college, or would you recommend like the G League Ignite, for example?
Um, so this is a question that I always flip back on whoever asked me the question. Is okay. We go to what is one of the main reasons why we go to college? To get an education, to get a better job, to ultimately make more money. Correct.
Correct.
So if you can go and make more money, you can always take that money and go back and get an education.
Mm-hmm.
But if you go and get that education and you lose out on that opportunity to get that money, now you don't have that money. So let's say there was some guys that, okay, you could have went to the league and made, let's say you could have went to the league and made 8 million, right? And this is, you make 8 million, not they tax it and all that. You've made 8 million. Or you stay in school. School's gone up, so let's say you spend 120,000 out of that 8 million after you get it to go back and pay for your school. Or you go to school, something happens and you miss out on that 8 million. Which route would you take?
I mean, yeah, I mean, it's pretty obvious at that point.
So that's why I say, like, a lot of, when you do put yourself in those situations, I think you do have to go for the money. Now, I also piggyback that same thing that I do to everybody, and I feel like all of the athletes that do choose to go get that money, they have to take financial courses to learn how to manage that money.
Mm-hmm.
So you go to, let's say, Ignite, or me personally, I feel like if you come out of high school, you have to take a course Like just like you got to go through your rookie contract. While you're going through your rookie contract, you still get your money, but you have to go through those same courses, just financial courses. You don't have to go through the gen ed and all that. Just learn how to manage your money, so you don't go broke. And then after those 3 years, you know, every time you pass a course or you get to a certain level, you get more of that money from that contract. So ultimately, you're going to try to get through those classes so you can get the bag. I feel like that's the way that they should do it. Then everybody wins, and it's not like, oh, okay, they're just throwing their whole, academic life away, and they just don't care about, getting knowledge and being a better citizen.
So with you see with a lot of Lexington schools, with Kentucky and even of course I know more Kentucky stuff than any other state. With different high schools having like enrolling as a non-resident being an option, what do you think about all that?
I'm kind of torn between two on that because, like I said, I could have went to Lexington Catholic, but, life would have been a little different. But I wouldn't change it. I still love being able to battle with those guys that lived in my area against other guys that lived in their areas, with the exception of, some of the private schools. And that helps you in life. Like, you're not always going to have, a full deck. You got to play with the cards that you're dealt and play them good. And I think that helps you later on. I don't like being able to just bounce around and go to whatever school has the best team. Now, if you want to go to a school for the academic reasons, the school's a better overall school, not necessarily just a better team, then I'm for it. If you want to go because, it's a better situation from your family, then yeah, I'm all for it. But just to go because they got, 2, 3, or 4 star players, like, no, I don't really get down like that.
Mm-hmm. Who are some of the best players that you played against, in your opinion?
College, professional, because some of the guys that I played against in college are Hall of Famers now. So, sheesh. Shannon Brown was a problem when he was at Michigan State. Of course, Rondo. Who else? Jason Maxiell. He was a problem. What was the guy's name that played at University of Miami? He ended up going, I think, the 22nd pick. What was his name? He was the 22nd pick, I want to say, in 20... No, not even 20. He was in 2006 or 7. Who else? Damn, you put me on the spot. I'm trying to think. There's a lot of players. Who else did I play against? Man, you caught me on that one because I'm trying to think of some guys that I played against that was a problem. One of the most athletic was definitely James White. I had to guard his ass. He was super athletic. There was a guy overseas. I forgot his name, but he was a problem. I don't even know where he played college at. He was a pro. He played at Benfica. He could go. I played with Paul Pierce and Michael Beasley when I was in China. I was during the lockout. That was fun. The on and off the court stuff was amazing.
Did you say you played with a guy that went to Miami that declared for the draft?
No, I played against him. He was at Miami.
So I'm looking it up. There's a guy named Guillermo Diaz, and then
him.
Yeah.
Diaz. Yes, Diaz. Where did he end up going? Where did he end up getting drafted?
He got picked 52nd.
Oh, I was all off.
But then they also had a guy named Robert Height on that team too.
I do remember Robert Hyde. I didn't have to guard him. I had to guard Diaz.
Yeah.
He was a problem. Though there was a guard for Notre Dame. I played against him in a pro-am in Louisville. I thought he was good. Well, I won't say I thought he was good. Evidently, I was better than I thought I was because I was tearing his ass up. But that was back in 2008.
Yeah. How was that lockout experience?
Man, that was unlike any other. That was my. I played at that time. I was in the NBA. And when I was playing with those guys, man, we played in a world tournament. I was in the NBA. Like we had police escort everywhere. Everywhere we went, it was. I mean, plus we were in Beijing, so we were playing in cities with 23 million people. So it was ridiculous, man. It was really, really fun. It got old quick, but for that time being, man, just I'm like, damn, you all really live like this all the time? Like it's just every day. It was something to remember. It was amazing. Yeah. And Michael Beasley is a problem. People need to they got to put some respect on my man's name. He needs to be back in the league because he yes, that dude can go. He's in there. He's definitely in there. Of course, him and Paul Pierce, but he's definitely in there.
Was there ever a moment whenever you had like a eye-opening experience with the professional and stuff like that?
It would have been. It was then when I played with. It was then when I saw how he put on the show that he put on. Like when they say, you don't just have an on switch. Well, damn it, he did. I mean, he just kind of cruised and he hit the switch in 35 like that, quick. I'm like, wow. I'm like, yeah, it's a difference between, what people think it is to be in the NBA and what it is to be in the NBA.
Yeah.
Like, it's some, I ain't gonna lie to y'all, there's some guys in the league that shouldn't be in the league, because they know people, they know the right people. You gotta have a little bit of luck. But for the most part, most of the guys in the NBA, they can go. And I hate it when you get couch coaches like, he ain't this, he ain't that. Nah, man, they in the league. They can go.
Right. The last part of the podcast is all yours. Do you have anything you want to talk about or anything on your mind?
Man, I like what we kind of talked about a couple minutes ago. I would love to see the game get back to being fun and more about the game and less about the money and what you can attain from the game. Like I feel like it's so money driven that was one of the reasons why they took away some of the rules so they could have more points to get more butts in the seats to get more money. And I think it's kind of watering down the game. Now, it has transformed the game to where people had to kind of play a different way, but I just think we're kind of getting away from what everybody loves, the part of basketball that everybody loves. Mm-hmm. Just that wholesome part of it. I hope that it comes back. I hope that the respect factor for basketball as a whole comes back, all around the board. From the way you play it to the way you approach it to the respect of people that are involved in it.
All right, so you don't have anything else? I think we're good to go.
All right, man. Well, I appreciate you all having me on, man. I'm glad it worked out.
Oh, yes. We appreciate you coming on for sure. I know that we've been in the works with this, and, you're a great guest to have on, and, just great stories and great feedback.
Absolutely. Thank you for being on here, Coach.
No problem, man. Anytime. If you all, want me back on for a shorter version or just a little brief, whatever, just let me know, man.
Yes, sir. Got you.
Far about time, I'll definitely come back on for sure.
Oh yeah, appreciate it.
All right, guys. Well, I guess that'll be it. I'm gonna go home to the missus, man, and get some dinner.
All right, enjoy.
All right, fellas. Have
All
a good
right.
one.
See y'all.
See ya.